In a world where new Souls-like games are released nearly every month at this rate, what makes one of the originals special or unique? Does the grandfather of all Souls games hold up? Can it even be compared to more modern titles, or even some of the other Souls-likes? Prior to Elden Ring, this was probably most people's introduction to the series, so I'm going to be summarizing a little bit of the mechanics, gameplay, and then maybe some design elements of the first entry of the series, not necessarily comparing them to others, just a general overview. Without further ado, I present, does Dark Souls actually hold up in 2025, or is it just nostalgia?
In the age of Og, the world was ancient, a land of everlasting fire. But then there was fog. And of course, Nito unleashed a miasma of Cain. Gwyn, the Lord of Cain, the Witch of Izalith, and her daughters came, and the furtive pygmy so easily they came. With the strength of lords, these mighty lords came, witches came, great firestorms. Even now, they came.
Before I begin, the Souls series really is like nothing else. It's unique among games today, and much more so when the game first came out. Lots of games at the time were based on hand-holding, rapid checkpoints, and full-on story-driven gameplay, shoving mountains of dialogue down your throat. Dark Souls does none of that. It doesn't give you much to go on, aside from a brief synopsis of the mechanics when you arise from your slumber as an inconsequential undead. And upon your escape from the asylum, you have an entire world to explore with the entire mechanics already at your disposal. But we'll get to the world later. Mechanically, and for the most part, it feels like older turn-based RPGs where the bosses actually do have downtime between their attacks. You know, unlike similar games. Fuck. That doesn't mean all the bosses are created equal. Sometimes the bosses don't even know what's going on.
Stop! He's already dead.
Okay, good evening. Okay,
Why are you running? Why are you running?
okay. I guess that's the Gaping Dragon. Now, granted, the game is nearly 15 years old at this point, so what more do you want from a game that can nearly vote? Oh god, I can nearly vote. What am I doing with my... Getting it from a tech that flattens you is obviously going to differ from game to game and engine to engine, and as time goes on, you'd think that responsiveness would get better, right? It should be no surprise that a game from 3 years ago runs better than a game from 2010. Wait, Elden Ring came out 3 years ago? Oh god, what am I doing with my... Now, you've got your classic RPG style elements and soul style gameplay of like killing enemies, collecting souls, leveling up, killing bosses, rinse, repeat. Except you can't read the damn menu without trying to go into some deep button presses and understanding what each button does to understand more of the menu. Why the hell did they do this? What the... Not only did they make the side quests and story unintelligible, they made the controls incomprehensible as well. Thanks, Miyazaki.
This is your fate.
Quick heads up, I'll be doing more of this type of content in the future, like namely Dark Souls 2 and 3. So if you like this type of content, hit that subscribe button real quick. Thank you. If you're a newcomer to the Soul series, as I was when I first played this, you may try to approach it in a similar vein to other RPGs and just start exploring and hope that something will point you in the right direction. It feels sort of like a rite of passage getting crushed by the undead in Firelink Shrine.
Oh god, stop.
However, the game does, in fact, reward exploration, just not in the ways you might think. Some important things, some very important things, are hidden behind illusory walls and off ledges, namely bonfires. You know, the things that make the world go round. There it is. Okay. It should be here. It is. Let's circle back to responsiveness for a second. While the ability to quick roll or dodge after doing an attack can be greatly beneficial, this game is slow. Very slow. Even with a standard medium weapon, such as the basic longsword, it takes a little bit of time to recover, even after dodging or striking or hitting the wall. I'm not sure if it's the engine that's slow or just a product of the times, but I don't remember games from 2010 being this slow. Maybe we were all just accustomed to a slower pace back then? Now, don't get me wrong. The distance between bonfires can also be a bit harsh at times, and with them being a little more hidden for newer players, I can understand some of the frustrations. Especially because, contrary to newer entries in the series like Elden Ring, bonfires aren't considered as checkpoints until you actually sit down at them, which is something that took me a little bit to remember. Take the bonfire at the top of Sense Fortress, or the first one in Anor Londo, for example. Surely everyone's noticed those bonfires right away and not progressed super far into the level without needing to find them first, and surely they don't need to make that run back every single time they die. Right? That would be ridiculous. Are you fucking kidding me? It didn't even take me back to Anor Londo. Oh god, I'm dead! I made it all the way through Sense Fortress. I made it all the way through Sense Fortress in one shot, and then I just fucking... Do not the cat. Do not the cat.
You stupid.
Ow. Similarly, the runbacks to get to a bloodstain after your death can definitely wear on you, depending on the distance, and of course, speaking of runbacks, we just need to talk about the elephant in the room. Can someone explain why the run back to the Bed of Chaos is the way it is? Why does the so-called shortcut take over a minute longer than simply running back from the normal bonfire? You're telling me it's faster to go through the lava than it is to take the shortcut? What do you mean? He's still running. You are not real. Now, it's not all bad, but it's also not all great. Some of the hitboxes in this game can be somewhere between janky and turbo fucked.
Do a flip!
Bruh. Are you fucking kidding me? Go forward. Oh my god. You're joking. You're fucking joking. What the fuck are you talking about? What the fuck? I was behind him, and the hitbox was like, You were in front of him. I saw it. I just sort of wanted to see what that was. And decide if it was worth it, but I guess fucking not, considering I can't even walk on a damn bridge. You're not real. Bro. Again, is this just an engine problem, a product of the times? Are they just working with what they had, or was it all intentional? Who's to say? If you enjoy getting lost and trying to find the way forward, boy is this game for you. As I was trying to find my way forward, coming back to this game after 10 years, and also trying to find a specific area to get to, I had to consult a map several times. Even then, the maps weren't quite clear enough to understand the orientation of them. For instance, I was trying to find my way to Havel for his ring to help with defeating the Bed of Chaos. More on that later. And I spent nearly an hour wandering around where the map said it was, only to find out that I had went the entire wrong way, but ended up in the same area. I remember there was a path at the bottom of the tower, but man, was getting there a task. Dark Souls as a whole does a pretty decent job of giving you enemies and bosses you can handle, especially if you remember some of the design choices that were used leading up to that boss in the area. The Asylum Demon is a good tutorial boss, and Taurus is a good follow-up, but if we're staying inside the Burg, Capra Demon? Really? Now, let me just say, the problem has never been the boss. It's not really the boss itself. It's the dogs and the ambush. If you're not ready for it, and a lot of time, even if you are, the dogs can simply stunlock you, and there's not really much you can do about it. Now, moving forward in the game, probably the most infamous boss of the game, Ornstein and Smough, definitely don't give you a lot of time to breathe. And if your damage isn't high enough, the Four Kings can definitely cause some trouble as well. Now, but the bosses aren't all hard. Pinwheel, Ceaseless Discharge, and the Moonlight Butterfly are easy enough not to worry in a challenge at all. Butterfly. I don't want to talk about it. But do I even need to speak of the Bed of Chaos? Wait, why do I hear boss music? Ah, I found the hole. Are you fucking kidding me? I hate this fight. At least the debris fell, so I know where to go. Bruh. Heck? What? 'Cause 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 A big reason why Dark Souls tends to hold up as well as it does is the world. To get a world that is as interconnected as Dark Souls is, there needs to be a reason behind it. For example, one of the first NPCs you encounter tells you to go ring both bells, one above, one below. As you travel through the environment, you can see the world around you. Every bit and piece. It makes you feel so, well, insignificant. Especially when all the bosses you encounter are demigods or godlike entities. Doubly so in the face of constant adversity, which is something the game really portrays. And when you do finally overcome the challenge in front of you, there's almost no better feeling. Something that really makes the world feel so tightly woven is the use of constant shortcuts. Several areas use what are essentially glorified checkpoints to either tell some of the story or give some reprieve to the player. Take Undead Parish, for example. The major checkpoint there is the lift that goes back and forth to Firelink Shrine for easier access to two things. One, Andre for weapon upgrades, and two, since Fortress 2, progress through the game. This is a wonderful bit of design that helps sort of bridge the gap between early game to mid game. But honestly, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. Or in this case, sunshine and whatever the hell Darkroot Garden is. What in God's name is Demon Ruins and Lost Izalith? The incredibly bright lava everywhere is so jarring, especially we were just in two back-to-back levels of darkness. Blighttown and Depths. And Darkroot Garden is still a bit dark, but that's not nearly as bad, even though sometimes the lanterns that guide you do get a little bit lost along the way. But all in all, there's definitely more good than bad, but the bad is pretty damn bad. So, what's the verdict? Does it hold up? Yes, undoubtedly. Sure, it doesn't have the polish or the consistency of newer entries, but it does have its own charm. The interconnectivity of the world almost single-handedly keeps this game together. If you can get past the rough edges, the slower gameplay of the classic Souls formula, then it will definitely be a good time. But the inconsistencies of the difficulty of some of the bosses might give some newer players pause, especially those who return after extended periods of time, or are trying to get in this game for the first time. For some, Dark Souls is more than a game. It's a way of life. To live by way of adversity is to struggle, and to learn to appreciate the process. Brick by brick, stone on top of stone. The end result is a property that will continue to evolve and be refined and improved. There will always be a Dark Souls for all of us, but we all need to make a decision. Do we link the flame and progress toward that evolution of betterment, or extinguish the flame and turn away from the light? Either way, prepare to die. Please don't tell me. Can I do the same for him? Yes. Yes, I can. Monk. Okay, there's one. And there's two. There's three. And not have them respawn. My turn.